What's up, Magic Family? KG Smooth. We are inside the Magic Room, and we're also inside the Quiet Storm. It is an honor and a privilege to have in the studio with me. He is a director. He is also an Academy Award-winning filmmaker of the movie Moonlight, and his new movie, If Beale Street Could Talk, hits theaters on Christmas Day. Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible Barry Jenkins.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Man, it's so good to be here, man. This movie, If Beale Street Could Talk, man, we had the honor of seeing a premiere screening the other night, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, sir.
Thank you, man.
I really did. If Beale Street Could Talk, for those of you who don't know, it's a James Baldwin novel. So what was your intro to Baldwin? You told this great story last night about your introduction to Baldwin. Could you share that?
Yeah. I was an undergrad at Florida State. I think I was like a sophomore, and I was dating this young woman who was a senior, so she was a little bit older, a little bit wiser, more attractive. She was just, she was legit. And because I was such a young, not fully developed dude, man, emotionally, mentally, she broke up with me. But when she broke up with me, she said, "You need to read James Baldwin." And I think that was her way of telling me that I had a lot of growing to do. And so she gave me a copy of The Fire Next Time and Giovanni's Room, and that was my introduction to Baldwin.
And what did you think of his writing style?
I thought the style was incredibly evocative, very moving, poetic in a certain way, and yet he was being poetic about some very real things. Mr. Baldwin was writing about so many things about the lives and souls of Black folks, and writing about it in a way that was quite moving. And so I'd never heard of him at that point, which I was embarrassed by. And I think she was absolutely correct. I think I learned a lot of things about myself, a lot of things about Black folks in this country through reading James Baldwin. Yeah,
he was just real, just the raw truth.
Yeah.
And a lot of people couldn't handle that.
Yeah.
Hell, a lot of people still can't handle the raw truth to this very day.
Exactly. And it's why when I read If Beale Street Could Talk, which another friend introduced me to, I have this history of women introducing me to James Baldwin's work. About 8 years ago, a friend sent me If Beale Street Could Talk and said, "I think there's a movie in this," and I saw exactly what you just said. Just something it's a love story, it's a romance, it's about family, but it's also about some very, very real things. About systemic injustice and mass incarceration. And so the blend of those two things just grabbed me, and I felt like it had to be a movie.
Yeah, we've got director Barry Jenkins here with us. If Beale Street Could Talk, out on Christmas Day. And so to that point, there's so many similarities, even though the movie is set in the early 70s, I believe 1974, right? And the injustices that was going on with Black people then, unfortunately, we are still there in 2018-19, and it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. I think one, Mr. Baldwin, he spoke the truth. One, he made very very wise observations. He saw things as they were, and he spoke about them in a very real and raw way. I think when you do that, those things stand the test of time, and we've made a lot of progress in American society, but we haven't made full progress. And so, yeah, a lot of things that happen in this book continue to happen today. And then there are things that are not spoken about in this book that are still happening today. For example, the Second Amendment. Everybody wants the right to bear arms.
Right.
And yet, you and I bearing arms is different than other folks bearing arms, even in open carry states. Because if that was the case, then Tamir Rice would still be with us.
Come on now.
There's just so much that remains to be said. But I think when you dig into the work of someone like Mr. Baldwin, he was saying those things all the while. And it's up to us as a society to catch up.
Yeah. I think that the main theme, the common denominator of the theme of the film is love and trust.
Yeah. Love, trust, I think faith in a certain way too. What I love about this film is there's so many different depictions of love. There's a love between a husband and wife, between our two leads, Tish and Fonnie. But then their parents also have love for them,
right.
Unconditional love, the love between sisters, the love between brothers, just all these many different ways Black people show love to one another. And I think the thesis of the book and the film is that is why we've been able to endure despite all the hurdles, all the obstacles that we constantly have to face.
Yeah. With this being such an intense love story, this is my signature question that I ask to every artist that I interview. What is love?
I think love is faith in a certain way. I think it's faith in humanity, Like there's a scene in this film and in the book where these two characters are two leads that they're trying to find an apartment, and they are not from from very high means. You know, they're basically the working poor. And they go and see this apartment, and the apartment is, I mean, you saw the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, she says, how are we going to make this into a home?
Yeah.
And then homeboy basically promises, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this. And when you look at it on the surface, what he's saying is impossible. And yet through the power of love, she goes, okay, I believe you. We going to do this, we going to do that. And to me, that's what love is. It's faith in humanity and faith in another person.
No doubt. We got Barry Jenkins in the studio tonight. And the movie If Beale Street Could Talk out on Christmas Day. Go see it. Incredible film. And there is an H-Town music connection to this film.
I grew up loving chopped and screw music, primarily by DJ Screw. And then at contemporary times, I just happened to stumble onto the Chop Stars, OG Ron C, Slim K, and DJ Candlestick. And so for Moonlight, we actually literally chopped and screwed our own orchestral score in that film, and then we had chopped and screwed songs on the soundtrack, and then I linked up with Candlestick and OG and Slim, and we actually put out, you know, a purple Moonlight, basically chopped and screwed mix. Then we chopped and screwed Grizzly Bear Too Bad. We're probably gonna chop and screw this one as well. But now in this film, in the score, we utilize some of the techniques that we learned from Candlestick and OG and Slim, again, to build a score for this film. So yeah, somehow Houston has somehow made its way into my aesthetic, and I feel like I'm a better artist for it.
Yeah, that's what's up. I mean, your artistry is just so magnificent, and I am so glad that you are telling our stories.
You know, let me say one more thing about Chopped and Screw, because it's not just the music too. Because I saw somebody who was at the screening last night commented on the pace of the film, but how powerful it was. I just feel like when you chop and screw something, especially when you screw it, especially with hip hop, because the words coming at you so fast,
right?
The emotion is there, but you might miss it. But I think when you screw it, you create that space for all these emotions to come to the surface. And I think in the way that I build scenes, the way the characters in my film express themselves, there is space. Because just like in screwed music, all this emotion that might go by you, now it's all just sitting there. It's coming from the bottom and coming up to the surface.
It just hit me when, you know, the characters are, you know, they've got, you know, they're close up, and those dramatic pauses
to me, those are screwed visuals. You know what I mean? It
just clicked when you said that, and I thought about that in the movie. How freaking brilliant is this? Barry Jenkins in the studio. Okay, before we get out of here, I like to do this too, so I'm gonna need you to pull into your R&B arsenal.
Okay.
All right. Think of 5 of your favorite R&B slow jams.
Okay.
And we're gonna talk about them. I'm gonna play them, and you tell me what they mean.
I mean, do they?
They don't have to be in order. They just give me 5.
I mean, Al Green's "Simply Beautiful" for one. I'll definitely throw that one up there.
What's that about? Why that one?
I mean, one, I remember when Mr. Green, when the Reverend Al was he did this VH1 acoustic session, and it was just him actually playing guitar, and one of his homeboys playing bass. And to hear that song again with so much space, I mean, the musical track is amazing, but to hear it with so much space, it was just like, it just keyed into this idea, not necessarily soulmates, but this idea of love being a very visceral thing, something you can feel, you can touch, you know? That's what I hear when I hear Simply Beautiful. I would also go with Marvin Gaye, After the Dance, which is not the most typical Marvin Gaye track to think of. But yeah, I would go with that one. Let me see here.
And what does that song mean to you, though?
Again, I think there's something about that space in between. You know, when you meet somebody, maybe it's like the first date, or maybe it's the third date. Let me say,
right.
You know, and you haven't gotten to that place yet, but both people can feel it's going to get to that place. To me, that's what After the Dance is about. It's like seduction in a certain way.
Yeah.
Let me see what else I would go with. I want to do something screwed, but I should do something contemporary, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I ain't gonna be able to play no screwed on.
I will say, I remember being in middle school in H-Town, Knocking the Boots came out.
Oh man,
I remember kind of understanding what that song was about. Actually, I mean, shit, literally, you know what that song is about,
right?
But also, again, the feeling of it's like, oh, so this is what sex feels like. It's like, no, not really, but
right.
But the song.
But we gonna get into it like this.
Exactly, the song just got stuck in my head.
I'd like that. H-Town, Knocking the Boots. Okay.
You know,
we got 2 more.
Yeah, we have the song in the movie by Nina Simone called "That's All I Ask."
Yeah,
which is a really, really beautiful track. And again, I think that one's more about in love, there are certain commitments you have to make. We often think of R&B slow jams as being about lust and about passion,
Right.
but I think relationships are so much more than that. And that's all I ask. Reminds me of
And one more. We got one more.
You know, all right. Yeah, so I'll go. Thank you, Marvin. I'll go with Sade. But love is stronger than pride. I'll go with love is stronger than pride. Because again, I think sometimes slow jams can be too easy to know exactly what they're about. And I think a song like Love is Stronger Than Pride has something to teach you. And we can all learn something from listening to this very beautiful song. So,
and that tends to be the biggest teacher of them all.
Yeah,
love.
exactly.
The strongest drug, the strongest everything is love. Barry Jenkins, Academy Award winning film director of Moonlight. Thank you for your time. If Beale Street Could Talk hits theaters on Christmas Day, go see it. That living room scene with the family,
yeah,
bruh, I was just sitting there. I was like,
was it popping?
Oh my goodness! Listen here,
we was like,
it always is.
Yeah, so people go check out the film. It is absolutely incredible, and look for more masterpieces from this incredible artist. Man, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
No doubt.